Lovely, thank you very much. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen and members of the committee. Welcome to the Thetford Town Council Finance meeting of Tuesday 20th of October. We'll kick straight off with 41820, declarations of any disclosable pecuniary interest to receive any additional interest not already registered. Anybody?
No, thank you.
In that case, I'll take that as perfect, and we'll move on to 41920, which is apologies for absence to receive, please, Chris.
Yes, from councillors Brain and Harvey, although Chris Harvey said he may be able to join us later.
Noted. Lovely. Thank you all very much, and you are all very welcome. So we move straight on to 42020, the minutes, to confirm as the minutes of the committee meeting held on 22nd of September. Which will now be received by the full council on the 27th of October as a true record. We'll take those in order, she says, knowledgeably when she actually finds them. There we go. So page 1, page 2, page 3, and then there's a number of appendices. Are we all in agreement with those, please?
Yes, thank you.
Any objections to their accuracy? I'll take silence as golden in that case and move straight on, as I can see everybody is still in the meeting.
Jenny's having problems, but she probably can still hear us.
I'm presuming that's of a technological rather than general nature.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to 42120. Jen, we look forward to you joining us. To note the committee financial decisions that have been taken. You have some on the screen there. These have previously been circulated. Any questions or queries on this matter, please?
No, that's fine, thank you.
Lovely. So we move on to 42220, which is the contract set update, and that's been circulated and is in front of you on the screens there. Any questions or queries on this matter as well, please?
Just to say, Madam Chairman, that the contract is not on my screen. I'm still on the first page of finance summoning me to a meeting.
Oh, I have got it up on my screen on the feed at the moment, so I apologise. You obviously have received this previously. Any queries?
No, that's fine.
Super.
It's just nice to see him.
Yeah.
I can't come out of anything in case it kicked out because I've got my little circle going round now.
That may well be a buffering issue. So we'll move on to 42320, which is the financial report for month 6, which has again been previously circulated. I will read the overview. They represent the finances of the Town Council as of the 30th of September. There is a summary sheet, and then you had the further budget amounts and so on. The comments relate to the variances between the September 20 year-to-date versus the actual September 2020 year-to-date budget. And thank you, Alan, once again for your commentary on this and support. Is there anything that you would like to highlight to the councillors before I open the floor to questions?
Chair, no, there's not. This has been an extremely difficult year to look at the finances. We went back 2 months ago, we did a revised budget, and we're just tracking ourselves against that. The projection, or the revised budget, which you'll see on the page that's showing now, on the very right-hand side, is still the revised budget. In the next 2 months or so, we'll have a better idea, and we'll refine that so that at least we can get as accurate as possible a projection of what the year is going to look like. But it has been tough. I I shudder every time I come to this particular task because I feel as if I'm not too sure whether I'm going to be Aladdin or whether I'm telling big fibs because we don't know what's actually going to happen. So I am very nervous.
Thank you, Alan. As the Chinese curse goes, we live in interesting times. Are there any questions or queries on this matter, please, colleagues? If you can you pop your hand up in the chat function, please?
Chair, I no longer can see anything except a white screen.
Okay, so you have had the documents previously.
Yes, I have. Yep.
Super. So any questions or queries on that matter?
No.
No problem. Councillor Canham, I'm presuming that you're actually saying hands up rather than laughing at me with a heart.
Well, no, it's quite funny because you've got to try and keep these documents in your head from the time before, and I'm thinking, now what one are they? Because I've still got this circle going around, so we can't actually see the documents. But I think I can remember them all. I don't think Alan. I think we have to appreciate the work that Alan's actually doing, and it must be terrifying when you don't know what's going to happen. So I'd just like to say, well done, Alan, because it's not an easy task trying to work out your budget. It's bad enough when you try and do your household accounts. I don't know about a council. But, thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Canham. Any other questions or queries from the committee, please? In that case, we need to recommend these to full council. Do I have a proposer, please?
I will propose it, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Canham. Do I have a seconder, please?
I'd be happy to second, Mike Brindle.
Thank you, Councillor Brindle. I'll do the round robin bit as we're having some technological issues this evening. I'm not going to add to them by doing a poly. Sorry, Chris. I know you're dying to do them, but it's easier. So, Councillor Canham.
Agreed.
Councillor Hollis, are you there? Councillor Crawford.
Agreed.
And Councillor Brindle.
Agreed.
Super.
Agreed.
Yay!
I can't see anything, but I'm back.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you've seen enough of the accounts previously to support that recommendation?
Yes, I have read them, Madam Chair.
Super. Thank you very much. Just wanted to make sure, because I know it's tricky when we have technical issues. So we then move on to 42420, which is the approval of payments made. We have had these previously circulated, attachments A to E. Should you wish to see the detail behind it, obviously they can be scanned and sent to yourselves. And the recommendation of the making of these payments be approved. Are there any questions at this stage before I move to the recommendation, please?
No, thank you.
In that case, we need to make the recommendation to full council. Could I have a proposer, please?
I'll propose them, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hollis. And could I have a seconder, please?
I will second that, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Canham. And I'll go round again. Obviously, Councillor Canham, I'm presuming you're not going to change your vote from 2 seconds ago.
No.
Councillor Hollis?
No,
No, as in you're not changing your mind.
I'm not changing my mind. No.
Councillor Crawford?
Agreed.
Councillor Brindle?
Agreed.
Super. Thank you all very, very much. So we then move on to 42520, which is the update of the bank mandate, to approve an amendment to the financial regulations regarding cheque signatories and, if approved, to update the bank mandate. Both approvals to be recommended by adoption by full council. So you have there in front of you, if you can see the screen, where it is. Ultimately, the financial regs make reference to the Deputy Town Clerk. It's recommended that we actually amend this to read, or a senior official who is independent of the accounting and bank reconciliation processes. Alan, would you like to speak for a moment on this part?
Chair, it's just at the moment, I'm part of the senior management team, and our senior management team is obviously diminishing, but it would be very inappropriate for me to have any signing of approvals. So I'm certainly not putting my name forward, and I'm making sure that I'm excluded by putting the reference being independent of the accounting and bank reconciliation processes. So that's really what the amendment to the financial regulations are. We will have only 3 members of the SMT, of which I will be one. So the second recommendation, if the financial regulations or the change to the financial regulations are supported, is that the VEM manager be given signing powers with effect from the 1st of November 2020.
Super. So are there any questions, please, committee, at this stage on that proposal?
I don't have any, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hollis.
Can I add a comment, please?
Yes, please, Councillor Brindle.
I'm afraid it's not a helpful one. I'm now suffering from Brenda syndrome. So this is the white screen with the dodgy looking circle and nothing much happens. I think things have got kind of worse during the meeting. When the last screen was changed, it was very, very slow. But this time it seems not to be changing at all. So just onto the blank screen. So I'm having to rely on memory from what we've previously seen on email.
Okay. Does the committee feel that they are able to make the recommendation of the proposed changes to both the financial regs and the bank mandate based on the information that they've already had provided to them and will have already read?
I totally agree, Madam Chairman.
So I'm cheating. I've got it on my personal tablet because I've got a black screen.
Okay, so the initial recommendation is that the Finance Committee recommend to full council the change to the financial regulations to be amended to read, or a senior official who is independent of the accounting and bank reconciliation processes. Do I have a proposer to that recommendation, please?
I will propose it, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Canham. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Hollis. Councillor Crawford,
Yes.
are you happy with that recommendation? For or against?
Oh, yes,
please?
yes. Oh, sorry,
Sorry.
Chair. Yeah, I am. I'm just looking at a blank screen like everybody else seems to be. But yes, thank you. Yeah, I think it's a good recommendation.
Okay, and you're confident that you've had enough information to be able to make that to support that recommendation?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Councillor Brindle.
Yeah, I will support, but as I say, it's from memory.
Super. I mean, the question is do you feel that you've had enough information prior to this being proposed today?
I'll say yes on this to this particular item. Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Canham and Councillor Hollis, are you still in support?
Yes.
Support.
Super. So we move on to the second part of the recommendation, which is if we do support that amendment, which we have just put through, then it's recommended that the Finance Committee support the proposal that the VEM manager be approved as a cheque signatory with effect from the 1st of November 2020 and assume the responsibilities of the Deputy Town Clerk in the above mentioned sections of the financial regulations until the bank mandate is next reviewed. Can I have a proposer for that? Because we will need to put that to full council also.
I'm happy to propose that.
Thank you, Councillor Brindle. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Councillor Canham.
Thank you, Councillor Canham. Councillor Crawford?
Yeah, agreed on that. Yes.
Super. Councillor Hollis?
Yes, I'll agree.
Super. Sterling effort, team. I appreciate it's not easy when we've had the issues that we're having at the moment. So if we move on to agenda item 42620, this is the potential funding of the parish partnership application. This should not have been put on the agenda, but the agenda had already been published. The funding is for the 2021 to 2022 financial year. So if there is funding required, it will need to go through the appropriate budget process. And obviously we're in that's the early stages of pulling that all together. And traditionally, we address that within the November full council meetings, and we'll have the initial draft agenda for our next finance meeting. So with your permission committee, we will bounce that back as part of the budget setting process. There's nothing we can do with that here at the moment. Is that okay?
Can I just make a comment, please, Madam
Yes.
Chairman? I don't disagree with you at all, but as I'm the chair of planning, perhaps I should point out that the recommendation has got to be agreed by somebody by the very beginning of December. So the last possible opportunity is the meeting you mentioned, which is the November full council. So there needs to be a way forward found. I'm saying this not to ask you, Madam Chairman, to do anything, but simply to alert both the officers and the councillors who are present that there is an issue of time. Otherwise, we will lose the opportunity to get some small but useful funding from Norfolk County Council. So and a way forward needs to be found within the next 5 or 6 weeks. Thanks, Madam Chairman.
No, noted, Mike, and thank you very much for that. So moving on to 42720, which is a timetable of tasks in financial regulations. Alan, I feel like I've talked too much just recently. Please take over.
Thank you, Chair. One of the things that we've been very concerned about, and I think it happens at numerous local governments, is that we have all these regulations and we don't actually have a kind of checklist to ensure that we actually do all the tasks that we should have done. So one of the things that I have done since the last meeting is actually go through the financial regulations in a lot of detail, identify all the tasks. And sorry, my computer seems to be buffering a little bit, which is probably why everyone else's is. I'm not too sure whether there's a big update coming through on Windows or Teams. But it really is to look at those tasks and ensure that we actually undertake them in time, because the last thing we want to do is just have audit queries on some of these things. So what I have done is, in the detail that got submitted with the agenda, I've actually put a table with all the various tasks. These are the tasks that are critical for this particular meeting, and they are set out in the slide in front of you. For those that can't see a slide, basically I'm asking the Finance Committee to make the following recommendations. One is the Finance Committee asks the Council to establish a task team to undertake the internal control review during the month of February 2021. The second one is that the Finance Committee asks the Council to appoint a member to review the bank reconciliations as required in terms of the financial regulations. And the third one is really just the Finance Committee has to remind all the other committees of the Council to review their fees and charges during the budget process if this has not already been done.
Thank you, Alan. I noticed from a lot of the minutes that we've had recently, because everybody's been very mindful of the budget, that I believe item 3 has already been covered, but it's always worth just sending that reminder out. So Finance Committee, any questions or queries on this matter, please?
Could I just ask a question, Madam Chairman, just to get
Yes,
clear? His checklist, when he says a councillor's been in, we're not talking about the people from the Finance Committee, are we? We're talking about independent councillors from another committee.
So the requirement is within financial regulations for item 2 for reviewing the bank reconciliations, was that it doesn't have to be one person, but it used to be, and it used to be Councillor Wright who used to do it previously, to review the bank reconciliations so that we're not effectively quality assuring ourselves, because that's part of our role. So it supports that sort of scrutiny aspect to it. So yes, we would be looking at a non-finance person to be on there. The first recommendation, to establish a task team to undertake the internal control review, this is something that myself as chair and Councillor Brindle as vice chair used to be part of, and I recall that yourself, Councillor Canham, used to be on that part of that 3 team as a non-finance person.
That's right.
Again, I think it is good to have the balance between finance and non-finance, and I would suggest that with this committee's permission that we continue the tradition of having 2 finance councillors on there and 1 non-finance councillor. So that level of challenge is there. We're not, again, quality assuring ourselves, and it's always that opportunity to ask, you know, the obvious question. We can't know everything, but it does open it up, and it is that review of internal controls, so that if we don't know the answer, clearly we need to go look for it. Any other questions, please?
No, thank you.
Okay, in that case, can I ask for 2 volunteers to take part in the task team to undertake the internal control review? I'm going to stand back from it this year because I'm again very, very mindful that I work quite closely with Alan, and it would be good for others to see what goes on and challenge and support. And obviously it builds in some sort of sustainability and continuity, because nobody's ever a councillor forever and nobody's ever a chairperson forever. So are there any volunteers from the Finance Committee? I think, are we agreed that we'll have 2 from the Finance Committee and 1 non?
Agreed.
Could you just say what the role is? Or do we go in the office and ask to look at certain things at any time of day? Is that the sort of thing you mean? Like an audit? Or do we have to sit as a committee?
It's higher level than an audit. So it is the internal control measures. So what we do and how we do it. What happens when, for example, somebody doesn't pay? What policies do we have in place? How effective are they? How could they be better? And it's that opportunity to review, is this still all fit for purpose? Do we need to do something more? And the real cheat is Alan kind of does this for us every month in his committee officers update and his reforms. So he's been undertaking it recently for the past year, but I think it's a really good opportunity to drill down into it and go, well, we've said that, why are we doing it that way? And that greater depth of scrutiny. Does that help?
That helps, but when do we actually do this? Do we?
During the month of February is the proposal on screen.
Right, that is fine. I can do all them questions. I will put my name down.
Any other volunteers, please? I mean, Mike, you'd be great from a continuity point of view, but obviously I don't want to put anything more on your plate because I'm mindful that obviously you have your roles and responsibilities as chairs of other committees and obviously deputy chairperson of the council at the moment.
Thank you very much. I was going to say that I think you beat me to it, really. I was going to say that I would perhaps step back this time on the grounds. I think I've done it for 3 years and it's actually quite good to have a change, so that, I mean, part of all of this is to avoid any suspicion, never mind reality of things like fraud and mismanagement. And clearly, the more you vary the councillors involved, the better that is. So I'll say I'm willing to do it, but I'm really pleased if somebody else would come forward, particularly as Brenda has had some experience of doing it before. So you've got a potential leader there, if I may say so.
Well done, Councillor Brindle.
Yeah, I don't mind having a go if nobody else will.
Councillor Crawford, I think you've just volunteered yourself.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Is everybody happy with that?
Yes.
So, thought you might be. So we'll take those recommendations on block that the Finance Committee, and I'll make the proposal, the Finance Committee request a 3rd member for the internal control review during the month of February 2021 to be a non-finance member, and that we request the council appoints a member to review the bank reconciliations as per financial regulations, and that we remind committees, if they have not already done so, to please review their fees and charges during the budget process. I've made that proposal. Is there a seconder for that one, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dennis. Councillor Canham?
Agreed.
Councillor Hollis?
Agreed.
Councillor Brindle?
Agreed.
And I'm presuming you haven't changed your mind, Dennis?
Not at all.
Super. Thank you very much. Is that okay for you, Alan?
That is great. Thank you very much, Chair.
No.
And I'll send out information on the in respect of item 1, it's actually, there's an appendix in our financial regulations which sets out some guidance on the internal control review, and I'll make sure that I send it out to the 2 members of this committee and the 3rd member that's nominated by council. I'll send them an email setting all that out to help them plan for February.
Yeah, please don't send it out in Teams.
No, I won't. Normal email.
Oh, super. Thank you all very much on that one. So we move on to 42820, which is the approval of budget guidelines. To approve the budget guidelines and approve distribution thereof to the appropriate committee officer. Alan, I'm going to hand over to you again.
Sorry, I muted myself. What the idea of this to do, I don't think it's been done before, it hasn't been done in recent years, is really just to set out some guidance for the committee officers to prepare their budgets for the various committees on a consistent basis, to ensure that there's sufficient information put together or identified in the budget process so that the finance committee can fulfill its responsibilities. And it's really just to prompt and remind the various other committees about how they go about preparing the budget. What I've done is I've prepared a document which was circulated with the information and the agenda, but it really is to set out the roles and responsibilities to make sure that people don't see the finance committee as the custodian of whether that committee can have an increase or decrease. That's certainly not what the role of the finance committee is. It's to ensure that there is consistency. One of the things I noticed last year, and I hadn't been here for long, is that some of the committee officers prepared budget on a very different basis. So as much as we had one budget, the principles underpinning its preparation were not consistent. Just to ensure, and this is the most important one, that committees understand the implications of their spending decisions. So there's some guidance of if there's an intent by one of the committees to increase, for example, its spend quite significantly, if the onus is on that committee to identify how that would be funded. To implement the reserving policy adopted by Council in July 20, earlier this year. And finally, just to provide some general guidance as to preparing the budget. So what the purpose of bringing it to the Finance Committee, and I did have quite a bit of a debate where that was, I was, burdening the Finance Committee with things that I didn't necessarily need to deal with. I was just hoping that just reading the guidelines, that the members of this committee that sit in other committees can really just reinforce some of the principles that we've set out of this particular document. I've got my work cut out helping the SNT doing that, but hopefully at the end of the day we'll have a more robust and more reliable budget, and that these processes will become entrenched going forward and evolve and develop as we need to do that. If I can end there.
Thank you, Alan. Are there any questions or queries on this? I'm mindful, obviously, that the document has been circulated previously. Anybody?
Well, it's Councillor Canham. I have read that document, and I thought, do you know what? That's a good idea, because sometimes when you're at a committee meeting, they seem to jump and say, well, we're going to do this, that, and the other, but they haven't budgeted for it. Oh, that's all right. We'll go back to finance. Well, actually, it's their job to come up with the business plan, what the aims are, and then say to finance, can you find something? I think it's an important piece of documentation that Alan's come up with, because otherwise we'll jump all over the show like we did in the past.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Canham. I mean, in the terms of reference, we are here to support the committees.
Yeah.
Not to do, those decisions for them. We support them. So, if they do want to do that and they had the business case, we say the implications of this, so we can support them in that way. Any other questions or queries, please, on that matter?
I support.
Thank you, Councillor Hollis. Councillor Crawford?
Yes, sorry, I muted myself. Yeah, I'm in support. Thank you.
Super, thank you. And Councillor Brindle?
I think, Madam Chair, I'm going to abstain. I'm still on white screen syndrome, and this is one that I probably didn't pay enough attention to in advance. So forgive me for the mistake on this one.
No, completely understand and appreciate your honesty. It is something that we've been working to for quite some time as the Finance Committee, because I never understood why, you know, Finance had this power to dictate what committees could spend and not spend. Ultimately, the committees are responsible for their corporate objectives. They're responsible for their budget. So, yeah, this is only right. So obviously, I will propose that we adopt the approval of budget guidelines. Do I have a seconder, please?
I will second that, Madam Chairman, Councillor Canham.
Thank you, Councillor Canham. Mike, I've got your abstention noted. Councillor Crawford?
I'll agree with it.
Thank you. And Councillor Hollis?
Yes, I agree.
Super, so that's carried. Thank you very much. And obviously, yes, it doesn't stop us supporting, but it gives some parameters there. So we'll move on to 42920, Finance Officers Reforms. To note the progress on the Finance Officers Reforms, Alan, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Sometimes when I prepare this every month, I feel as if I'm making no progress, but we've certainly done a lot in the last month. We're slowly getting our accounts and the financial reports more and more accurate. So you'll see that around commitment accounting, I haven't done it as I envisaged just over a year ago, but we have got in place processes to ensure that we are accounting for all our costs. We're starting to do detailed accruals where there's major costs that we know we've incurred if we haven't had the invoice. So in that item, I think we've made good progress. There's a lot of work around auditors. In fact, more than I envisaged when we first started, because there's the discipline, there's all sorts of things. And we're slowly edging away at that. And one of these days, as I promised you, Chair, a few weeks ago, a lot of these will disappear once and for all. The one I'm having technical challenges now. The one project that we have done this month is the allotments. We started late in October. We managed to get, well, sorry, not late October. We started in about the beginning of the second week in October. We had our training on the Tuesday. By the Thursday, we had all our allotment notices out. We captured, put everything onto the database. And I think within 4 days, we had 25% of our income sitting in our bank account. So this has been fantastic, but it's been a very consuming project. The financial regulations checklist is there, but I think the one project that is not here, which, so let me go back, which I'm really delighted for. Today, we started for the first time going paperless on the suppliers chain. So we've been experimenting a lot, but today, on 3 occasions, the town clerk has done virtual signing of documentation. We actually have got all our internal control checklists incorporated. So if you can see my face now, I'm smiling like a Cheshire cat, because this is something we set a target to have completed to introduce on the 1st of April. And we are now confident we'll have this up and running by the 1st of November. So I'm really delighted with that. Again, it's taken a lot of time around orders, around how we process information. But from the 31st of October, we no longer print out any supplier invoices. Everything is electronic, everything's stored on stage, and I'm really delighted with that particular item. So it doesn't show up on my control checklist. It looks like I haven't done very much, but that is certainly one of my biggest achievements in the last couple of months, and I'm really delighted with that.
Well done.
And I'm still grinning.
Thank you, Alan. And I mean, the nice thing is that's a key way that we can support the environmental strategy that Full Council put into place a couple of years ago. And obviously, we're using less trees for paper, so that's fabulous. Any questions or queries or comments, please, for Alan?
So really, that pursuing, sorry, Madam Chair, it's Councillor Hollis.
That's okay.
So really, pursuing paperless accounting records should be on a green now, shouldn't it, Alan?
It should. I didn't think that we would get there. I was still hoping to get there by the 1st of April. You'll see, I actually say by the 1st of April, 2021.
was reading that. Yeah.
But
I think we'll move it to green when it's embedded. How's that?
Yeah. Well done.
Dennis, is there anything you'd like to add?
I'm having a hard time getting my little symbols to come up, so I'm sorry for the delay. No, I'm fine. I think it's a very good achievement, and keep moving forward. Thank you.
Councillor Brindle.
I agree with Dennis entirely. I just hate to see the smile wiped off Fallon's face, so I'm very much in favour.
Thank you all very much, and duly noted, Alan, and thank you for your ongoing efforts. I know you were absolutely top-group when we met in readiness for this meeting about the allotments, and I didn't think there was going to be anything to top the allotment achievement, but you've done it, so well done. We'll move on to 43020 correspondence. Any correspondence to be noted and considered, please, Alan?
There is none, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And 431 committee officers update. Is there anything you'd like to share with the committee since we issued the agenda?
There isn't anything.
Wonderful.
So moving on to 43220 community engagement to discuss and agree any consultation or media release required. Anybody think of anything? I don't think there's anything really relevant that isn't what we have to put up as transparency anyway.
No.
Agreed.
So I will move on to 43320, which is the exclusion of press and public. To consider resolving that, pursuant to the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960, that the press and public be excluded from any remaining items of business on the grounds that publicity would be prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of the businesses to be discussed. I will go round the room virtually and just ask for your agreement on that matter. Councillor Canham.
Agreed.
Councillor Hollis.
Agreed.
Councillor Crawford.
Agreed.
And Councillor Brindle.
Agreed.
Super. So, Joe, if you could cease the recording, please. Thank you very much, ladies.